I kind of like Colin's better, by the way. But it's 5 questions. Just helps you understand. What I would encourage you to do is think about this, not so much from the perspective of like, I think earlier, it was like not your best day, I think Vanessa said, right? But like, what's the reality of your brand? And then also from the franchisee's perspective, right? How would they view it? Like, how hard is it on them? And, yes, please. The one that's branded Woven. So I'm with Woven. I have the Woven handout. Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to have any conversations, we have a booth out in the hallway, and I'd love to talk with you more about it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brad, who's going to talk about possibly one of the more fun and interesting sides of this, which is the people of scaling.
He's just going to come in real quick. Thank you, Matt. He's coming in right now. He just wants to make sure. So.
Oh, okay. Nice. Got some video for you there.
Hi, everyone. Obviously, I'm not Brad. We're just doing a quick name switch. So as you're working on these assessments real quick, just don't mind me up here, okay? Later I will be dancing. So you got Holy Moly. I'll start running trivia. Yeah. And maybe karaoke.
We good? Yep.
So he's just double checking the sound for it because I want that video to work. This is yours too. Do you want a 2-minute warning or a 5-minute warning?
I think you too, and I'm gonna have it on my watch.
You good? Good. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Of course, yeah, no worries. Let me just get in here for one moment.
It's 14.7 minutes, right? I get the 14.7 minutes. 0.3 extra minutes. Okay, awesome.
I'm counting right now.
Well, while we're getting that sorted out, from the exercise earlier today, how many people were in the competent category, purely competent category? Was it competent, right? Right, all just in that quadrant. Anybody all in the all quadrant? How many were all in the warmth? And how many were in that magical quadrant? All right, see those people at your table? All right. Well, that was fascinating. I'd never seen that approach to kind of evaluating that. But that was very helpful for everyone.
Where did you fall into, Brad?
I fell into that bucket, the top right. I was happy. I told my mom. I texted her and said, "Good job." But I was that crazy kid who had a micro machine rental business in 3rd grade. Like I had 600 of them. Anybody remember micro machines? Those tiny little tiny cars. The guy that spoke really fast with all the commercials. And so my parents drank Crown Royal, and so we had a bunch of these purple Crown Royal bags. I went to this Christian school and asked for micro machines for every birthday and Christmas. I had 600 of them. And my dad was an entrepreneur, so he drove me to school every day. And he'd always tell me stories. And this is not a part of the act, by the way. I'm just trying to be a good opener for myself. But yeah, so and my mom still has a folder. And it was so some kids have their lemonade stands, but I brought in my 600 micro machines and Crown Royal bags into my 3rd grade Christian school. Rented them to all my friends. I made my own self for a little credit card. I had a VP of marketing, Winter Hawkins. I'll still never forget her name. And Seth was my VP of sales, and had a little typewriter newsletter to all of the micro machine fans, dated 1989 at the top. So that was my. And I had a tutoring company in high school. Just go ahead and do my background here. Yeah, I can share that. Well, I guess while we're, it's just a short 50-second. I didn't mean to create.
No, you should be good.
Challenging.
You should be good.
We good? Okay. Now for the main event. All right, my 14.7 starts now. Okay, I'll be good. All right. The humor was free. Sorry, you got to point it directly at the thing. Here we go. Okay. All right, so I speak really fast, like the micro machine guy, right? And I'm going to talk probably about some things that most of you haven't maybe navigated or dealt with. I don't live and breathe or come from generational franchise world industry and so forth, which sometimes can be a different approach, right? The Einstein quote, problem cannot be solved from the same awareness with which kind of created it. So I'll share a little of my background here, but I'm going to be very tactical. I'm going to share about the whole world of offshore global talent and how it can be a part of supporting operations. A lot of you have had conversations. I mean, you're seeing this happen among some of your franchisees, some of your multi-units, some of you are kind of going down this path, right? And today's common world, right, at the end of the day, it's blending this combination of like your local W-2 employees, AI technology, tech tools, and offshore global staff, right? I mean, the modern business is some kind of blend of that. So I'm here just to share some examples and case studies to kind of give some perspective on all this that may be helpful as part of where you guys sit in trying to grow and scale. Because I prefer case studies. I like to hear just real specific examples. I'll share a couple different brands and examples of how this could potentially apply, and hopefully it'll translate for you. So, I mean, it translates into efficiency, profitability, and scale, right? And look, I got on the table here, I got a worksheet, and there's a QR code, right? It's amazing how we live in the world of QR codes now. But if you scan this, I have a bunch of deep dive case studies and examples, and a whole guide that I'll share with you guys, and also this unique 2-question exercise I highly recommend you guys can use to kind of go down this journey. Yeah, as I shared, background, started off with Micro Machines back in the day. But long story short, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, from Georgia, grew up there. And I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. Graduated from Wharton Business School, company I was going to work with, ended up going under right before I was going to start. So since 21, that's all I've done is built and grown companies in different industries, global product-based businesses, service-based companies. My last company, we manufactured and distributed teeth whitening products globally for the dental industry and the beauty industry. And I started using offshore talent in the Philippines. And a lot of you, depending on your perspective and kind of where you've had exposure globally, was just blown away by the competency and the ability and how they work side by side with my team members. So when I sold that company, I was like, I want to get in this business. Like, I love the people. I love the impact it had for me. I want to bring it to small to medium business. I didn't want to be a call center for the Fortune 500 and so forth. I wanted to like really kind of meet people in the SMB market. So launched Outsource Access in 2019. We grew to 500 employees in about 4.5 years, and basically built a model to try and address the failure points that I saw of a lot of others kind of in that space. And along the way, we started working with franchise brands. And a year and a half ago, I kept getting told, hey, you ought to get in this space. There's a lot of need for it. So I started going to a bunch of conferences, and now we're working with a bunch of brands at different capacities, which I'll talk about. And there's a bunch of other companies that are out there. I mean, love to chat with you guys about what we do, but there's a lot of great firms. I just encourage you to look at this space, understand it, lift the hood up for your own knowledge, for your franchisees' knowledge. I remember sitting beside the Tropical Smoothie guys last year at this conference, and like the guys were like, yeah, this guy in Michigan's crushing it. Like, he's got 28 locations, and yeah, he has like 10 people in the Philippines that are just crushing it in the back end. Like, this is behind the scenes what's happening a lot of times for people, because it's efficient, it's cost effective, and the work ethic is unbelievable. So we launched Franchise Virtual Assistants kind of at the multi-unit level, and then the FSS Franchise Support System to support at the franchisor piece. And we're big on EOS, and a lot of people kind of running EOS. That's a big part of our model as well. So, I mean, it applies kind of in all dimensions. And we're seeing as well, especially that are field coaches, is providing like a corporate support to support field coaches, so that a lot of the administrative stuff that you're having to do doesn't end up bogging you down from a day-to-day standpoint, right? So you can kind of do more of your hands-on work kind of out in the field. So the main thing is when it comes to offshore and outsourcing, what have you, so by show your hands, like how many people have worked with directly anybody in like the Philippines, for example? All right, so about half the room like had some exposure, right? But others haven't, right? And again, same thing for me. When I got in the space, it's kind of like a lot of people think about the last call, customer service conversation they had with their cable company, right? They don't realize, same thing was for myself, is when I kind of got in this world and I realized what the competency and the ability was, I mean, it was absolutely, it's why like our tagline is redefine how you scale, right? What about low skill, inferior quality, language barrier, got time zone issues, it's only for big companies, right? It's a sweatshop, security risk, right? All those things end up not being. I mean, there's different ways you got to address them, but it's the typical concerns that people have. Because at the end of the day, it's just about talent, right? Instead of being affordable and offshore, it's just talent regardless, right? And trying to find good talent that want to work hard, that want to contribute, and really work side by side. And that's the unique thing about this. It's not an arm's length vendor situation when you get down this. I mean, you ask any of our clients, like they feel like their staff in the Philippines are like just a part of their company. They know their mission, they know their core values, they work side by side with them in the process. So I'll play you guys like a 50-second video, my very first VA that I hired. And when I started doing a lot of speaking on this, I got asked to educate and I speak globally on it. And I said, J-Cell, will you just like have a film crew follow you around over there in the Philippines for like a day and kind of show what your world kind of looks like? So I'll show you a quick little thing we did way back in the beginning. So I'll put through all the rest of it, but you get a sense of it, right? People that have an experience, right? It's just as far as competency, ability, and that's what my journey was, and I kind of experienced. That was way back in the day when it was more focused, purely on just kind of VAs. And the more I started going down this journey, as I realized it wasn't just low-level admin, booking your travel, checking your email and so forth. These are people that can plug in. My entire executive team is in the Philippines. My president, my CMO, my HR director. I'm the only person in the United States. People that are running macros and models and CRMs and HubSpot experts and Restaurant 365 and House Call Pro and Service Titan, and are running and facilitating that whole process. But I tell you that the great way to start, and I encourage this, like regardless of what path you go down with AI or VAs and what have you, is this 2-question exercise that we would always do. And a lot of consultants that come into businesses, they got 400 surveys, 900 questions, and so forth, right? And I'm telling you guys, I've done this with thousands of companies, and I can encourage you, if you take these 2 questions, and again, you scan that QR code deal, I'll send you guys the whole template. But it is quite simply, right, either internally at the franchisor corporate side, okay, which we've done before, and we've done this with startups to a $300 million multi-unit pharmacy group that we work with, is just simply asking, what is it that you are doing that isn't the best use of your time? And then how many hours are you spending on it, right? And force that second question. Make them put a pencil to how many hours you're spending on it, right? And give them psychological safety to say the things that they feel they're doing isn't the best use of their time, right? So if you're evaluating corporately at your corporate brand, right, what are people doing that isn't the best use of their time? But also at the franchisee, as field coaches, right? I encourage you, go to your franchisees and just have them do this 2-question exercise, right? And then secondly, what should you be doing? What do you want to be doing? What do you think you should be doing that you are not due to time, money, or knowledge constraints? Well, if I had more time, I'd go out and build more local relationships. If I had more time, I'd go do this. If I had, if I could invest in this, I would do that. But I don't have money to afford someone to call and do follow-ups on treatments or what have you, right? But that 2-question exercise, and just leave it open-ended by design, not any more complicated, right? Send the 2 questions, say, hey, we're going to meet in a week, and just see what they come back with. And what it does is it creates a phenomenal platform for a dialogue, right? And I've seen this all the time with companies where the business owner, like, Jane, you've been with me for 8 years, and you came back with 42 items on this list. It's like, well, you never really asked me before, right? So it's a great way to kind of just tease out and figure out where their constraints are in the organization and for themselves, right? And also it kind of creates a cultural lift. And I would encourage franchisees to ask their employees this question, right? And do it every 6 to 8 months, right? Because it really helps unpack kind of all the different things and constraints that there are. And a lot of it has to do with maximizing software, right? All the software that exists out there, we all use like 12.2% of what it's capable of a lot of times, right? And we still pay the monthly fee because we're getting enough value to pay that amount of fee, right? But whatever the platforms are, this is a big area of help that we found with offshore, right? Working with multi-units and others is mastering and managing all the software capability, right? Because what happens? You get trained, sorted by the software company, right? And then that person leaves and all that knowledge walks out the door. Then you got to train that next person on it. And then the software company introduces all these new AI features and so forth that nobody touches because they're barely getting the first 12.5% figured out, right? So it's one of the things that is one of the big elements we find comes back on that 2-question exercise. I'd love to use the Google Reviews component of the software. I'd love to do the estimating. I'd love to do the logistics and routing, but we can't get to it because we're buried with all this other stuff, right? It falls in that second question category. So to share a couple of quick examples with you guys, just to kind of give a snapshot, right? And again, I go deep in all these. You guys can click on that and I'll send you a deep video interviews I've done, kind of all these. But District Taco, right? Brand that was struggling specifically on the catering side. Catering is a huge opportunity to drive lots more money to the bottom line, right? But a lot of them don't really do it very effectively because of the logistics and follow-up and so forth. They had a lot of interest coming in, SLPs weren't being followed and so forth. So they ended up hiring one of our staff full-time, working side by side at corporate with them to take over and manage all the catering, right? For corporate and for all the locations to support all the back end for it, right? So they hired Chris, right, who came on, and 35% increase in catering, right, year over year by centralizing a resource. And like in our business, like we charge $2,200 to $2,800 a month for a dedicated full-time resource, right? You can get some less than that, some more than that, depending on what companies and which path you kind of go down. But you're getting a dedicated full-time person that can work side by side with corporate staff. And then she took on and managed, right? Catering revenue, owns all the catering inquiries, reviews, and community management, reconciliation of all the Uber Eats, DoorDash, and other third-party delivery services, cash audits, and then she started taking on and managing Restaurant 365 for them as part of it, right? So it was the way they plugged in an offshore affordable staff in that second question. They weren't leaving so much money on the table in their catering business that was coming in and supporting them directly at corporate and at the local location level. And the why I like to show this is it's not like an arm's length vendor. They integrate directly into the org chart of the organization, right? They work side by side within the organization, right? They show up on level 10 calls. They're a part of kind of your organizational structure. It's another in the food space, right? Dreamland Barbecue, they got 7 location operation. They're growing rapidly now because of sort of what we've been sort of helping them with. But accounting and management was a mess for them, right? And Betsy, who started it based down in Birmingham, Alabama, they had no real-time reporting across locations, inconsistent tracking of COGS, struggle with consistent bookkeeping, and then just a lot of manual and data reconciliation. And so Kim is the staff. She's been with them 5 years now from our company now, and just took over all of it, managed it, real-time closing. They were to get all the data and reconciliation done, and they're just introducing Restaurant 365, and now she's being trained in reconciling all of it, right? And so this is their full back-end team, right, in the Philippines that runs their whole back-end infrastructure, right? So again, I'm just trying to share for those of you who haven't explored this world, like what is it actually like, right? They're not in a typewriter in a hut somewhere, right? That's like what I've literally heard people share before. They don't understand, like it's, right? I mean, when I go over, got whole dedicated teams that are kind of supporting, right? But you still get advantage of the lower cost, and they learn rapidly, and they integrate. This is a men's health brand, right? Got the whole snow issue, right? Sold, not open. When I went to my first franchise conference and I heard there was this like acronym, it blew my brain. Like as a business owner that's launched companies the last 25 years, this concept, which I know is very fluent and commonplace here, but I was just like, I feel like I was waving a flag in the room, like we can solve this problem. Like there's a way that this can be resolved. This is a big men's health care brand that was growing like crazy. You know, they had their typical 400 items that they had to do. And I understand there's the line you can't cross, right? But got a staff that worked side by that was able to learn and relaunch the entire launch playbook process and cut their launch time in half, right? For all their locations going forward. Understanding it, this is literally their actual playbook. Like we took it, restructured it, and then actually coordinated and managed the process. All the stuff that can be done in supporting them, either directly at the brand side or with the multi-units. And then, what's one of the things, like on page 762 of the 3-ring binder was, hey, in your spare time, go create local partnerships because they need to be referring business to you. Okay, well, I don't have time to do that, right? So using an offshore, was able to data scrape. In 2 days, got a list of 800 local referral partners, then logged in under their LinkedIn account and created partnership meetings for them, like within a week, right? Versus them trying to go knock on doors and build local relationships. And this is another one that's a national painting brand, right? Using House Call Pro, right? They were struggling with maximizing and using all the capabilities and functionality of it. So trained experts in it that were able to do all the estimating, all the quoting, manage all the customer experience, and use a lot of the features that they weren't able to maximize. This is Stephanie that kind of works in that space. And the last one I'll share real quick is this is a turf care business. They're in the middle of going through the franchising kind of journey. They're kind of been exploring that. They got about 4,000 customers. They do turf care, spraying chemicals, right? And their struggle was routing, accounting, and sales, right? So first is they got Ivan, was able to learn field routes, do all their routing, took it away from all their routing managers so the routing managers could focus on employees and inventory management. And so Ivan sits in the Philippines for 8 hours a day, does nothing but run the routing for the entire company. And then they brought on Christine she sold $100,000 last month, upselling customers on chemical treatments, right? And they spend $2,300 a month for her full time. Amazing English, you would never even know she's in the Philippines, right? She calls every customer and says, hey, would you like an additional treatment next time? We found a brown patch in your yard. And then last was accounting and bookkeeping. 8 years experience, Bachelor of Science degree, $2,400 a month, get a full-time bookkeeper doing all their bookkeeping and back end, and even learned Fathom that integrates with QuickBooks that does CFO so you can learn revenue per truck type metrics that don't typically come out of QuickBooks, right? And last one, this is a big pharmacy group that's got about 70 locations, and they were dealing with all kinds of issues. Did that 2-question exercise with their corporate team. They've been around 50 years in Wisconsin, very conservative, kind of the background. And now they got 5 staff that plugged into operations, HR, executive assistants, and just had a big impact across the business, right? So can't go into detail in the 12, 15 minutes I have here, but I just want to give you guys at least a taste of like what is possible going down this path and what these staff can do and how they can integrate kind of in the business. And then these are the monthly business reviews that we do. Detailed, like people see these, they're like, I don't even get these for my own employees, right? Like these are detailed business reviews of how the staff performed and the ROI and the impact that they had in the organization. So anyway, you got the sheet on your table there, but I got a bunch I can send you guys, some deep dive case studies. Actually, Johnny Franchise and I on a podcast and kind of did some insights with him going down this journey. But the 2-question exercise template and a whole playbook that'll show you all the different things that can be done in this space. If you scan that, we'll shoot it to you. And obviously here, and happy to answer any questions along the way. Thank you guys.
Is it on still?
Yep.
Okay, good afternoon. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Matt. Those two guys I've worked with, Brad and I actually reconnected at this event because we worked together 8 years ago at another company. It's a really fun reunion as we were getting prepared for this. And Brad, your remarks on the two questions, this is also part of the warm-up and totally free. So we do an exercise in our company called absolutes and priorities. And so we have every member of our team go through and identify absolute needs. Someone outside of our company is telling us we have to do it, meaning the franchisee, we're a Planet Fitness franchisee,